Wonderful. Looks like we got a nice sized group today.
Yeah, how fun.
Yeah. Well, welcome everyone to our weekly Law of Attraction Roundtable call. My name is Kevin Young, and my wife Suzanne and I, in the other window there, will be facilitating the discussion tonight. Our company is Personal Success Programs, and we host webinars and workshops and coaching programs based around the Law of Attraction. We're located just outside of Detroit, Michigan, in a little suburb called Novi. So we host these free online calls as a way to build a global community of Law of Attraction practitioners, and we believe that the more people understand how this law works, the better it's going to be for everyone on the planet, because there's a lot of victim mentality roaming around. I'm sure you see it in the politics and the various things that are going on, and once people understand that they're creating their own reality and it's not somebody else's fault, then it seems like that's a path to better cooperation, better peace, and most importantly, better self-empowerment. So we're really glad that you guys are part of our global community today. So a little housekeeping, just relax, be comfortable, nothing serious going on here. We're just here to have some fun and see if we can get to the bottom of some questions and understand Law of Attraction a little bit better. So if you're on the web, then you can click your raise hand button in the upper corner if you want to ask a question. That'll come a little bit later after we do the 10-minute topic. If you're on the phone and you don't have a web connection, you can just say your name and then speak up if you got a question later on or you want to participate. After we get past the opening stuff, it is more of a round table, open forum, and we want to hear your opinions and your questions, most importantly. So speak up. The workshop is being recorded. It'll be made available later today or tomorrow. We've decided as of last week that we were going to start putting them on our YouTube channel and sending out the links there instead of we were sending out the links from another hosting company, and YouTube is just a little bit more accessible. And don't worry, nobody's on video, so you don't have to worry about the way you look. And even right now, we don't have the software set up so that our video is enabled to be recorded, so all you'll see is the background anyways. But the words are what are most important here. So you can listen to the recording later on, and if there's anything else important to you, you can play that back. Most importantly, have fun. That's why we're here. I'll have an enlightening conversation together. Future calls will be held on Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for any more information on our company, go to personalsuccessprograms.com on the web. Alrighty, let's get kicked off here with our 10-minute topic for today. So the topic is how to trust your inner guidance. And everybody's got one, fortunately. And one side thing here is that if you guys have any background noise going on or you're not going to be talking, please go ahead and mute yourself because I can hear a little bit of background noise going on right now. And if you don't have access to your mute button, then I will mute you from here. You can always unmute yourself. All right, so to understand the inner guidance and what that means, you have to understand who you are first. And most people aren't aware of this. I think most of the people on the call here are, but I'm going to go over it anyways for future listeners. We like to think that we are physical beings rattling around on this earth in physical bodies with all of our thoughts rattling around in our heads, and we take input from our 5 limited senses, and they are very limited senses relative to what's available in the universe. And then we make decisions, and that's kind of how we live our lives. And we're usually pretty disconnected from any kind of guidance. And that's just by what we've been trained and by our schooling and so forth, and our environment, socializing. Well, who you really are is actually consciousness. You're an energy being. You are non-physical, non-localized energy, and you were energy long before you came into a physical body, or long before physicality itself even existed. So at some point, this broad, incredible consciousness that is you decided to come into a physical body. So that's happening right now as you speak to some varying degree. Mostly it's at less than 1%. A tiny part of this larger intelligence that you are is actually flowing into the physical form known as your body. When that happened, when you were born, a separate consciousness started to evolve, and so you have two separate consciousnesses that are wired together through energy, so they cannot be separated. So you have access to this 99+% percentage of the rest of you that is still in this non-physical energetic form. And the advantage to you is multiple. One is that this energy consciousness, because it's non-localized energy, that simply means it has no location. It's everywhere at once. And it can see places that you cannot see from your physical five senses, from your eyes and ears and so forth. So it has a broader view. It's a higher dimensional being, which simply means it transcends the limitations of the three dimensions. And because it is you, in broader consciousness form, it knows what you want, it knows what's important to you, even things you might not have identified in your conscious awareness. Subconsciously, as you've had experiences where something didn't work out, you had an unwanted experience, you've created the wanted in that moment. And that desire shot out of you as an energy thought, and your broader consciousness knows it, and it's collected that knowing of who you are, and it's constantly trying to guide you towards the things that will light you up. This is going on all the time, 24/7. So there's a lot of good reason to trust it, because it always has your best interest in mind, because it is you, and it wants you to expand in the ways that light you up the most. Even beyond that, you have access to broader intelligence in general, because all consciousness is actually frequency-based, vibrational-based. So you can tap into any consciousness stream. You can tap into any ideas, and this is what true genius is. You have the ability to do this, but you got to learn how to tune into it first. So, next question is then, how do we do that? Question of the century. So, you got to train yourself. Because you've been trained away from your guidance, like most of us have, through schooling, through parents, through society, you've learned that to trust other people and other advice and other rules as opposed to what feels the best to you. And then we follow that guidance, which is out of harmony oftentimes with who we really are and what we really want, and then we attract things that subsequently match that guidance system, the sort of ineffective guidance. So our job is to then start to learn to trust the inner guidance by moving back in that direction. And so there's a variety of tools you can use to do this. Most importantly, it's good to know that your inner being, this inner guidance system, is always talking to you in a subtle, small, still voice. You've heard that in religious references, the still small voice within. Well, that's the voice of infinite intelligence. That's the superconsciousness. But it doesn't shout. It's just always present. The shouting occurs in our physical brains, if we're used to having such noise going on up there. So the first step is to learn how to quiet the mind, to shut down or slow down the physical thoughts which are rattling around up there, so you can start to hear that voice. And there's many techniques to do that. There's nothing wrong with having a physically thinking, active brain that's trying to solve problems and explore the world. That's fine, but you want them in harmony with each other. So the first step is learning how to quiet the mind. And there's many, many ways to do that. The book Ask and It Is Given, we always tout here, from Jerry and Esther Hicks, has 22 processes to do this. So highly recommended. Ask and It Is Given. But the simplest thing that you can do is learn how to meditate. Probably heard that many times before, and I think many of you, at least the ones I know on the call, are already doing meditation. So meditation is just a process of quieting your mind using intentionality, sitting quiet. You can have music on. You can use guided meditation is a great way to start. That's people talking quietly, guiding you into the meditation, and then see how that affects your day. You can also set your intention before you meditate as to what answers you might want to get or what kind of guidance, and then meditate and let it go. Excuse me. And then see what happens. And what you'll notice is the meditation quiets your mind because it slows the momentum of negative thoughts. And so with the quieted mind, you'll be more in tune during the day, and you'll start to pick up little guidance signals. You'll get little positive impulses that'll feel good. And if you act on a guidance signal, an impulse, when you feel good, it will always lead to something that will feel good to you. In other words, you're on the way to manifesting in that case, because if you're feeling good and you get an impulse, then you're getting broader guidance. If you're feeling really bad and you get an impulse to do something, then that's going to head you in that direction, and you're going to attract things that match the negative emotion instead. Law of attraction is always responding to that. So meditation is the first thing. Another thing I discovered several months back, maybe 4 months ago, was a combination of meditation to clear and quiet my mind for 15 minutes, and then free-form writing. Free-form writing is really cool, and it's made a big difference in my stability through the day, my lack of any kind of emotional dips as a result. And all that is you meditate first just to quiet the mind and kind of get into a peaceful state, and then you get a pen or pencil and a notepad, a journal that you can throw away because you're not going to keep this, and you just start writing. To set a timer on your phone for 15 minutes, and then just start writing whatever words show up in your brain. And it might be starting off with something like, oh, this is stupid, oh, I hate doing this, well, this is such a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. But just keep writing, and you write and write, and eventually you clear out the noise, because that's the chattery physical mind thinking, and you'll start to actually hear words, and you'll start to get phrases, and you'll start to get I often have a conversation going after a while. And you're not thinking about it, you're not forcing anything, you just got your eyes gently half closed just so you can kind of see the paper and just feeling the words come and writing them down. And I often will have a question and then an answer and then a question, then an answer, sometimes multiple questions and sometimes a stream. And then if anything pops out at you in that moment that was important, like you got an aha moment, I just do a quick underline and then I keep writing. And then when you're all done, the timer goes off, you can look back at the things that you underline, and you'd be surprised what kind of guidance that you get in that, what kind of information shows up. So try that for a few days. Give it 7 days, and I found that within a few days, I was actually having much better days where I simply didn't take dips, and I was getting better inspiration through the whole day. I was tuning myself to the frequency of that infinite intelligence inner being that has the broader view and is trying to give me guidance all the time. One other thing you could try is there's a book called E Squared by Pam Grout, and she has 9 exercises in there to help you to tune into your guidance system and practice law of attraction techniques. Because law of attraction will do its work regardless of what we're doing. We just want to be in alignment or in that receptive mode, and then law of attraction will then be working on that energy and bringing us things that feel good as opposed to things that don't feel good. So once you start to close the loop on this, magic starts to happen in your life. And all of a sudden things start to show up that you had no idea how they showed up, and you can take any action other than quieting your mind to cause them to occur, but you'll know that you had something to do with this showing up. That's when you get your power. So go out and practice that for at least 7 days. I recommend 21 days to really build the habit and see what happens. Anything you want to add, Suze?
Just 2 other little thoughts to help them get in touch with their inner guidance. Start your morning, if you choose to, the minute you open your eyes, begin to appreciate things in your life and make them simple so that you can easily go there. My wonderfully comfortable down pillow, my cute little doggy wagging her tail at me every morning. Simple little thing. Start that and keep that going for, 68 seconds so you have enough momentum that when you do get out of bed, you're going to keep attracting good feeling experiences to you. And so therefore then the way to get in touch with your inner guidance is to stay in that good feeling place. That's when your inner guidance will guide you and give you those little nudges, and you don't even have to wonder whether you should act on them or not. You just do because it feels good. And all of a sudden you'll find you're getting that guidance because you started your morning off on purpose, feeling good and in appreciation.
Nice. So as you can see, there's a variety of techniques you can use to quiet your mind. It's just finding the thing that works best for you and then practicing it long enough. And this is really important. Don't try it once and say, oh, that didn't work for me. It's like going to the gym. You got to go and lift the weight a bunch of times before you build the muscle. So you really got to practice this. We recommend 21 days to build the habit and to build the momentum and see what happens. Excellent. All right. Well, that was the 10-plus minute topic for today. Let's take some questions. What's on your mind, guys? Go ahead and raise your hand there, unmute yourself. And if you're on the telephone, just go ahead and say your name and go ahead and say something so that we know it's you. So who wants to be first? Who has the first question here? Don't be shy. This is a safe place. I answered all your questions in 10 minutes. Guess I'm better than I thought I was.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, that was streaming consciousness. So go ahead and
It
click
was
your little,
totally.
yeah, click your raise hand button if you want something you want to talk about, or even on the subject we just talked about. And that is one of the things that I've learned to do through these processes is I now get into this channeled state where I just set the intention of what I want to talk about and have a few notes. And what I just spewed off, you might think I had a whole page of notes, but I had, I think, 4 sentences here that got me going. And then I just opened up to the broader guidance and I let it talk through me. And that's how it all comes out. And you guys can all do that as well. It's really that simple.
I
Just
can
takes
give
a
a
little
little,
practice.
until
Okay.
someone raises their hand, I'll give a little example. When I go to my networking meetings in the morning, I start off really excited because I know I'm going to be talking about something I love, our company and how we help people change their lives. So I walked into this one meeting in this wonderful state, and for some reason I was just drawn to go over to this one woman that was there and compliment her on her ponytail. She's always very professional, and she had this cute little ponytail. And I said, "Oh, I love your ponytail. It's so thick. I wish I had one that thick. I've always wanted a ponytail hairpiece." Just to, so when my hair is messy, I can just pin it up. So she said, "Oh, you know where you can find them?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Sally's Beauty Supply over," and actually it was right by my house, just a mile away. I said, "Oh, cool." So I go over there thinking, "Oh, that would be cool if they actually had one that matched my hair because my hair is unusual." And wouldn't you know, they did. And it was on, and I wouldn't have thought to go over and compliment her on her ponytail, but it just all unfolded, and I was, led to what I'd been looking for a long time. This fake ponytail. It's simple, but it's fun. Those little things are fun when you're feeling good. Just act on them.
Yeah, just act on the impulse. Don't have to figure it out.
Yeah, the impulse was go over and talk to her and
Yeah.
just compliment her. All feeling good, of course.
Yeah. All right, who has the first question? Go ahead and raise your hand. All questions are important, by the way. It's you'll find that a question that you ask will be empowering to other people. Or if you just have a comment on what I just said, the things that we read off here. Last week I had somebody send me an email saying how one of the questions had made a big difference in her experience, how valuable the answers were, and she wasn't even the one who asked it. So your question has a lot of value. So don't be shy. Go ahead and raise your hand or just jump right in and join us in the conversation here. I hear crickets. Do you hear crickets? There's a hand. We have a bold guest here.
Yay.
All right, it looks like Sherman here. All right, Sherman, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have the floor, my friend.
Hey, good evening, guys. How is everyone?
We're doing great. How are you, Sherman?
Terrific, thank you. Yeah, so my question is going to be out there,
All
and
right, yay.
here we go. Um, I think you mentioned this before, Kevin, but what is your take on law of attraction as far as I was having a discussion today with somebody, a friend of mine, and she found it hard to believe that, a shooting, a killing, something of that nature can be attracted into somebody's life, right? And I was explaining how, she was saying, say I'm at a gas station and somebody shoots me. And I'm saying, well, that's not possible because you vibrationally couldn't attract that to you because you are in a different vibrational state than that person who is doing the shooting, right? That person may have been coming from a place of anger, blame, hate, rage, whereas you might be in a different state. So unless you were in that similar state, that vibrational level, then you may have attracted that. But if you're not in that similar vibration, then that couldn't have happened to you, right? And yeah, so I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're hitting on a very powerful question. particularly based on what I've heard is going on in the world. We don't watch the news, so we just hear little blurbs here and there. But I understand there are people killing people,
Yes.
and that's been going on since the beginning of time. So, and you're on track, Sherman. Let's do some clarifying of a few points. The biggest one that's hard to get for most people, and even with this conversation, this leading edge group, is the idea that we believe that death is a bad thing. And that comes from the belief that we are separate, isolated individuals, and that we've only got this one life, and when the one life is over, well, that's it, and we don't know that there's anything beyond that. And so we naturally have the fear of death as one of the top fears, because people don't have that connection to their own consciousness that we were talking about earlier. But as you get more practiced in this and you tune in to that guidance more and more, and you hear your own consciousness at a broader level, then, there's many other things that can go along with understanding this. Talk to people who've had near-death experiences. When we were on our cruise, actually, a week and a half ago or so, we actually had dinner with a lady and her husband who wrote a book on a near-death experience. She actually had two of them where she died. She was dead. And she talks about the experience she had and how she returned and made a decision consciously that there was more to her life, and it profoundly changed her, healed all the illness that was in her body in a very short amount of time that had killed her, and now she's doing great. So whatever it takes to convince yourself that there's no such thing as death, there's only the ending of the the temporary body that we're wandering around in here, then that takes the fear factor out of it. So when death occurs, it's a natural progression to the next step of our lives. So just equating death in itself, or taking death out of the picture, then it's a little bit easier conversation to have. At least I think it can be, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. So then the next part is, yes, do we attract everything in our experience? 100%. No exceptions. And where people run into problems with that is that they don't know why, or they can't anticipate that something bad is going to happen. Something suddenly happens, and then they start to feel life is random, bad things can happen, I have to protect myself. When what's really happening is that they've learned, like so many of us, myself included, how to numb their emotional guidance system. And so they have no clue that something is on its way to them that's not going to feel good when it arrives. But we're getting emotional guidance with every single thought that we have that's telling us if we're on the path towards something that we want or something that we don't want. But because of society's rules and the various things we've learned, we push ourselves into little boxes, and then we do things that don't feel good because we want the approval, or we have to fit within laws and so forth, and then we learn to turn off the guidance which is telling us what's coming. So what we do is, in our company, is we train people back into alignment and into harmony and sensitivity to those emotions, so that long before a terrorist attacks, or long before a murderer attacks, or whatever negative thing you might consider comes to you, you've got emotional guidance saying, I'm not feeling good, I'm not feeling good, I'm not feeling good. What is it that I'm doing or thinking that's causing that not feeling good to be emanated from me and subsequently attracted back to me? And then we make course corrections in our minds to correct the energy that's coming out of us before we have to have a huge manifestation that reflects the energy that we've built up over all this time, but that we've been ignoring. Does that make sense? You there, Sherman? You gotta unmute yourself, I think.
Yeah, sorry. That makes perfect sense. I mean, I understand that is clear to me. Can I ask you a personal question?
Of course.
I don't want to be like somber, and it might come off this way, but Kevin, how are you so confident about the progression into the next life? And I don't doubt this either. I believe this as well. However, my friend who I was speaking to today, she was saying, like, she believes that once our lights go out, that's it. It's the eternal dirt nap, nothing more, nothing less. And I respect her opinion, right? Terrific. But I guess I greatly admire how confident you are in it, and I just want to get some clarity on that. And like, how do you know yourself?
Thank you. I appreciate that, the compliment. Yeah, great question. And the answer is that I wasn't always as confident. In fact, I had my own fears of death when all through growing up, because I had a very antagonistic, negative growing up at times. My dad was very explosive and angry, and I learned to turn my emotions off at a very early age. And so I went around all the time with no guidance system, and was sickly a lot of the time, and I attracted people taking advantage of me, and all that kind of stuff happened. And I got on to people like Tony Robbins and Wayne Dyer and all the motivational speakers back in the 80s, and it helped me to start to see that I had some control over it. And it really wasn't until I got into Law of Attraction and I started connecting what I was thinking with what I was attracting. And once I started getting more in touch with that loop and the emotions that were in the middle of it telling me what was going on, then all of a sudden I started having control over things which most people have no control over. The things that show up, like getting a parking place all the time in the front row, or attracting clients, only the clients that exactly line up with me without advertising or any of that kind of stuff. And so it kind of opened the door to me seeing that there was a bigger picture than just me rattling around in the body, because there's nothing that I could have done from an action standpoint to make those kind of things happen. So that's one part of it. Another part of it is the communication that I've had myself with my own guidance that talks to me at times, and then subsequently to other people who have the ability to channel information, such as Abraham through Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, and I know a half a dozen people who do it now, and the information that you get when you have a conversation with them is absolutely pure, positive feeling energy. There's never any waver in the content of the information or the clarity or the lovingness of it. There's never an agenda, and we've been doing this since 2008, I think. And so over time, you just kind of realize there's much, much bigger of a picture going on here than just us and our little bodies. And then, as I said, with the near-death experiences, and there's a book, another book that you guys might be interested in if you're interested in near-death experiences, which is called Evidence of the Afterlife. And it was a 10-year study done by Dr. Jeffrey Long on near-death experiences, and he interviewed some 800 people around the world, different from 5 years old to 80 years old, all different cultures, and he isolated the things that these people all had, and about a third of them had out-of-body experiences, where they literally were out of their bodies and were watching the operation or watching the accident that they had just been in, and that's in the moment that they had actually died, and so their consciousness withdrew from their body. Right now it's projecting into your body. That's part of, like who I'm talking as right now, is part of that consciousness flowing. When the body ends, then the consciousness withdraws back to the non-physical. And so these people could identify things that had been going on when nobody else was at the accident, or they identified things that had been going on in the operation room that they then later recalled to the people who were in the room, in the operating room. And quite by surprise, that they could pinpoint very accurately things that had happened. So they had to have had a broader viewpoint than just from their eyes, which were closed at the time because they were dead. No electrical activity at all in the brain, and yet they had complete awareness of what was going on. So you just kind of collect the evidence as you go over time, and you got to prove all this stuff to yourself. And we can't prove anything that we teach to anybody. You got to prove it to yourself, because you're the one who has to close the loop, because it's your thoughts which create your emotions, which creates the reflection by the universe through the law of attraction and the results that you're going to get.
Can I share something?
No, please.
What's fun about, you were reading my mind, as you always do, and said what I wanted to say about the book. But what was fun about that book, Evidence of the Afterlife, was my father had just died. This was 2009, and I know that at that point in our exploring of law of attraction and trying to understand how everything worked, you still had a little doubt in your mind. You wanted more clarity, just like Sherman wants more clarity and understanding. And so I was in the airport, and I'd forgotten to bring a book to read while I was when I was going to go down there. So I was in the airport in Detroit, just standing around. Went to a bookstore, pretty small, and I thought, what are the chances they'd have any book that would be metaphysical in a Detroit airport? bookstore. So I wandered to the corner for no specific reason, looked around all the shelves, didn't see anything, and there was a tall gentleman in front of me, and I was just kind of standing lost in the corner, somehow being drawn to that corner, and this guy says, "Am I in your way?" And I said, "No, no, I don't even know what I'm looking for." And he said, "Well, here, I'll move over." And at the lower shelf corner, there was this book, Evidence of the Afterlife. And so I bought it. And I had a good thing to read, especially since my father had just died. And I brought it back to you, Kevin. And I know it was the beginning, again, of more clarity and understanding, because when you're very scientific and analytical like you are, Kevin, and anybody who doesn't know Kevin, he really has been used to, really studying deeply and getting all the facts. That was a beginning of more awarenesses and your confidence. So I just want to throw that in. You read my mind again about the book.
And yes, I will confirm that was one thing that helped improve my confidence.
There were so many, but exploring and searching and collecting your own data is the key.
So Sherman, did that answer your question? You got anything else you want to add about that? Because this is a really deep, important subject right now for what's going on in life.
That was absolutely terrific, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you guys both. Yeah, I mean, my friend is also very analytical. She believes in evidence first before faith or belief, and I understand that. But
I used to be there too.
It's kind of, right, and I mean, it's kind of like believing in yourself, right? Before you can do anything, you have to have the belief in yourself before you see the results of something. Right, and I just share that with her, and I think it made her ponder some stuff. But Evidence of the Afterlife, I definitely want to share that with her, and I don't know, maybe it'll give her some clarity herself.
Yeah, and maybe if she's asking for it. It's important to not answer a question that hasn't been asked. That was a hard lesson that I had to learn as a coach when I was going through training, because I learn a lot of why I learn is to teach, because I love teaching. And I used to be a teacher even when people weren't asking, and annoyed a few people. So just be sure that she's asking, and it's what I always suggest, we both suggest to people, is to be the example of it, and then talk about what's going on in a matter-of-fact way of things that are working out in your own life, and then people will ask. Because everybody wants to feel good, everybody wants to be empowered, everyone wants to believe that they don't have to be a victim in life. So you're setting a great example for your friend, and I hope it really continues to work out for you, Sherman.
Hey, thank you so much. That's very true, very powerful also, because yeah, I want to teach because I believe in this so strongly, and yeah, you're right, I have to exemplify it first before, and if she asks for it, then yeah, great, but I completely agree.
And you don't have to be perfect either. Don't hold yourself to a high standard. Just put yourself first in that respect, and you'll find that if she's somebody who's interested in this material, she'll start to ask questions, and then that opens up a beautiful conversation, and then you can share what you know.
And
terrific.
Cool. I just want to share really quickly. I grew up in a home where my father did not believe in anything after death. You live, you die, and you're gone, and that's it. And there was no spirituality and nothing in my house like that. And after my mom passed away first, and 5 years before my dad did. But when I flew in for her funeral, the 2 days following her transition, my dad was in total amazement. He took me aside and he said, "I saw your mother in the hallway. I know I really saw your mother in the hallway last night." This was after she had transitioned. And then one other time he saw her sitting right next to him in her favorite chair, where they had these chairs together. He just knew she was there. And it was the first time, and I was so thankful that he got a little taste of what I had always known and learned on my own, that there was more than just being in this physical body. So it's kind of fun as you go through life and you have people you really know share these kinds of experiences with you too, because there's so much more than we are brought up to and trained to believe.
That makes me really happy to hear that story. I appreciate that very much. That's amazing.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's a wonderful universe out there, and we're only just starting to scratch the surface as physical beings. All right, excellent discussion here on some deep subjects. Who wants to take it to the next level? Who's got another question or a comment, or maybe a rebuttal? Maybe you don't believe anything that we just said, and you want to bring up another opinion. Everything's valid here. We're
Yep.
just all exploring together. And go ahead and click your raise hand button if there's something you want to share about the conversation here, and a new perspective maybe. We'll get to learn something from you. Or if you have a question on something completely different around the law of attraction, maybe how to attract a relationship or a better job, money, how to get rid of negative thinking, how to get unstuck. So you guys are doing okay there? Everything's working out?
I'll give him an example of another time when I didn't listen to my inner guidance. Unless the hand goes up, just tell me, because I can't see when those hands are.
Okay.
But back in November last year, I started having bloody noses, a series of bloody noses every day. I mean, they'd come and go. I had no idea when they were going to arrive, and they were just really putting a damper on my life. And I finally realized that I was really, really sick and tired of having these. They weren't painful. They were just totally annoying. And I also knew leading up to that I had been ignoring my inner guidance. I had been letting myself worry about a lot of things that truly were out of my control, and I wanted to be in control and solving them. My youngest son had for several years been struggling with cancer, and I wanted to, just heal him, of course. And then there were things going on with our transitioning of going from the IT world to our wonderful coaching company and money, and so I was worried about that and all these things that I wanted to be so in control of, and therefore my cellular activity just kind of broke down, and my little guidance was I started having these bloody noses. So I asked a question to someone that we mutually know, Kevin and I recommended, who channels infinite intelligence. I just asked that simple question. I need to understand what's going on. Can you help me with these bloody noses? What can I do to understand what's going on? And I had this huge, beautiful answer that it was awareness that it was all of the things that I was hanging on to, all that resistance of many months that I was ignoring. My inner guidance, I had signs, I knew, but I was ignoring them because I wanted to heal my son. I wanted to just make money show up magically. Too much efforting, so much work. And when I let it go, that very next day, I never had another bloody nose. It's just a great reminder to me that no matter how much you understand and live and love and teach this, we're still real people hoping, just plugging through, doing the best we can. So don't feel alone if you have ignored your inner guidance, because so have I.
Yeah, it's all an infinite journey. That's something else that takes a lot of the pressure off, is that there's no destination and there's no ending to it. And once you can wrap your mind around that you are an infinite intelligence, energy consciousness being that is going to be in this body for a short period of time, but is going to be conscious and aware and exploring for all of eternity, then there's not a big rush to get things done or to accomplish something or to get approval from someone else. You can kind of relax into what you're doing and bring more enjoyment, find more alignment, and from more alignment then you attract better things into your life, and then you become a better example and a better radiator of this to the rest of the world, and you affect people. You uplift the world by being more in alignment yourself. So you can't get it wrong. It's the same thing that happened with when I had a brain tumor in 2008. The years before that of a victim mentality, people taking advantage of me because I had no emotional guidance, and then getting angry about the fact that somebody, quote, took advantage of me. And I'd play that movie in my head. I'd wake up in the middle of the night angry that this thing had happened and that thing had happened. But I didn't pay attention to the signs because I didn't know at that time that the fact that I was simply in that energy state and emanating that energy was what was attracting it back to me at the time. And eventually that built up. I had plenty of emotional guidance, but I was ignoring it. Eventually it turned into a brain tumor in my right side behind my ear. And this is when we were introduced to Law of Attraction at the same time. And from the awareness that I had from the Law of Attraction, then I realized that it was simply the buildup of this energy which had to manifest. And so after a year of exploring alternatives and finally giving up the resistance, we were able to go ahead and have surgery, and found out that after I gave up the resistance to having surgery in the first place, that one of the best places in the country was right here in Michigan at Providence Novi, which had just opened up a neurological center 3 months earlier, 10 minutes from our house. But I would never have gotten that guidance had I not let go of the resistance I had to having surgery. You know, I've got to figure it out. I've got to make things happen an alternative way. And also because I was going to lose my hearing in the right side as a result of the surgery, I didn't want to lose that, so I was pushing against. And that's what we always say: whatever you resist is what persists. What you're focused on is what you attract. So letting go of that, and all the pieces fell into place. I had the surgery, got my life back. 3 months later, our business had actually doubled in size, and then things took off from there. So you got to prove it to yourself, though. All right, guys, we've done a lot of talking here. I would love to hear your voices. Who wants to jump on here? And love to hear anybody's voice here. Oh, there's a hand. There's Judy.
Hey.
Hey, Judy, what's up?
Now, when you said when you get into alignment, are you meaning alignment as far as like we are made to be joyful people? What do you mean by alignment?
Oh, great question. Thanks for asking. Yeah, the word alignment, what we mean is the thoughts that you choose to think moment by moment by moment are actually in harmony with the same point of view as the broader part of your intelligence, your own inner being. And what happens is when your thoughts about a subject, whatever you're pointed at in your mind, whatever you're thinking about, your inner being is thinking about that same subject. You're always, there's two of you always focused at the same time. When you're in alignment, the thoughts that you're thinking are actually in harmony with what the broader intelligence of you actually knows to be true. As a result, there's no what we call vibrational variance. There's no difference between the signals, and you feel good. That is what causes emotions, the differential between what you're thinking about something and what your broader guidance knows is true. And so the farther away we get from that knowing, that the pure love, pure positive energy, the knowing of the law of attraction and the laws of the universe, the knowing that everything is actually working out, the farther we get away from that, the worse we feel. And that's evidence, again, great segue here, to what we call the emotional guide, or emotional scale here. And if you got the computer screen, you can see the list. Any of you who have been to the Billionaires Club or any of our workshops have seen this list of emotions. So down at the bottom, you're the most separated. So when you're thinking thoughts that create fear or depression or insecurity or guilt, any of those emotions that are coming up in you, that means the thought you're thinking about right in that moment is way far separated from the thought that your own guidance system, that your own inner being is thinking. So if you're hating somebody, you're jealous of somebody, your inner being doesn't have those things because it doesn't believe in those concepts. And so it's not that you're right or wrong about having a negative emotion. It just means the thoughts you're choosing to think about that situation are way out of harmony with what the broader part of you is. And number two, law of attraction is picking up that thought energy and is bringing it back to you. So you set up kind of a loop where if you stay in anger, for instance, or rage, then for a long enough period of time, then you'll start to actually attract from law of attraction physical things which match that energy when they arrive. Did I answer the question, or do you have more about that you want to know?
Yes. Very good.
Okay, thanks for your question, Judy.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Great question. We're really getting into some deep stuff here on the call, guys. That's what I love about these phone calls. You never know where they're going to go, and we always uncover some really good stuff. So who has the next question or comment? Let's go ahead and raise your hand, click on the button, or just jump in and ask. Nothing is off limits, by the way. Judy is back. Go ahead, Judy.
Okay, you mentioned that 2 months after your surgery that your business had doubled, and I'm just curious as to, so even though you were recovering from this, sounds like to me it was a pretty major situation, surgery, you were still thinking in the ways of attracting clients and all of that? you were going through?
Yeah, that brings up a good point. Let's clarify that. So we're taught that it takes action to create results on this planet. Okay, and that's not actually true. The law of attraction is what creates results. And sometimes we participate and sometimes we believe we did something to create a result. But it's the alignment that we have with broader intelligence, which then causes things to be attracted to us to help us create the results. And so what I heard in your question was, I was thinking about attracting clients while I was still recovering.
Right.
And that's, and
clients to come. Or did it take like months and months for the clients to come because you were attracting it prior to the surgery, you mean, or?
So yeah, if you could step back from the action part for just a second. And one of the core principles that we teach is that everything is always working out for us if we allow it to. So I always wanted to have more clients. Okay, so that desire has been with me ever since I had started the IT business, and the same with the personal success programs. So my inner being already knows that desire exists. It radiates that, law of attraction picks it up and is trying to bring me clients all the time. But if I'm in a negative state of mind, then I'm never going to hear the guidance that tells me where to go to get the clients that are already trying to come towards me. In other words, if I'm down in a negative state of mind, which I was when I was going into surgery, actually it wasn't that bad because I had started to bring myself out of it, knowing I was going to get relief. Before the surgery, I was blocking myself from rendezvousing with those clients which were trying to find me. I was energetically on a different frequency. But the surgery released a lot of negative energy around me because I was getting physical relief. Right? And I was learning about law of attraction, and I could finally start allowing the energy to go up the emotional scale. And as I got back into harmony, then the clients who were waiting to show up, I could now get guidance as to who to call and what web page to go on at the right time, and then they could start to find our website and us through people. So it's all orchestrated by the law of attraction behind the scenes. Our only job, and people have a really hard time with this is why we talk about it so much, is your only job is to feel good. Period. Do stuff that makes you feel good. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to add one more thought on that to help Judy get another way to think about it too. What we didn't mention was when you first got diagnosed with brain tumor, we went through many months before you had the surgery. So when you first got diagnosed, both of us were worried about money, knowing that when he had surgery, there was going to be a length of time he needed to go into recovery, be in recovery, so he wouldn't be working. And at that time, our only income was the IT money. And when you're not working, you're not making money. So that was a big fear and worry both of us had, a concern, which is a low frequency energy field, which source and your broader part of you knows there's nothing to worry. Everything is going to work out okay. But it took us until maybe a couple months before surgery that it's when Kevin got at peace with it. We both did. It is what it is, and we allowed things to unfold and let go of that worry, that it all began to go in a beautiful experience that we never would have even know would have happened. But it was when we let go of the resistance and just got at peace with this is the way it is. And then all of a sudden, the top-notch surgery was located in our city, and the recovery went really well. And then people, companies started calling us wanting Kevin's services. It was just amazing. When we look back on it, when you think about it, it was letting go of the worry and fear and anxiety that just puts a wall up to attracting anything you want. So I don't know if that helps you, Judy, but that was another aspect of that.
Definitely. I guess what I was just trying to say or think was, okay, so you were going through recovery, but you still were at a positive, you were up on the scale as far as your emotions and all that.
I was getting there. And what's interesting is it doesn't take that much movement on average on the scale on a day-to-day basis to have exponential changes in your life, because every one of those notches that like if you go up from 22 to 21, you've actually doubled the amount of energy that's flowing through your body and being attracted. So you only have to move up and get a little bit more hope here and there, and big things can actually start to happen.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, to answer your question, yes, I definitely had a lot more optimism, even during recovery, which it was painful at times.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I was past it. The tumor was gone as far as I knew, and I
Mm-hmm.
was healing. And so all of a sudden now the future starts to open up again in your mind. It always
Right.
could have, but I didn't know it at the time. And then now law of attraction can start to bring those things to you. Okay.
Great. Okay.
Great question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
thanks.
All right, we got another hand up here. It looks like Linda. Go ahead and unmute yourself. And what's your question?
Well, it's more of a comment. I guess you started out with calm down and wait for the sides to come, but the way Suzanne finished it up
Say that
is
again.
really where I'm working on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, well, you
Yeah.
said calm down, and then what was the last part?
Okay, so, and where Suzanne was coming from, and this is where I'm working on it, is not be so action oriented. Like I hear a lot
Yes.
of, we want you to be lazy, and that's really something I've been working on because that's more difficult. I always feel like I need to be in action mode.
You and me both, Linda. I
Okay, so
struggle with that every single day, and I had to force myself to go and lay in the sun for 30 minutes this afternoon on this gorgeous day, even though there were all sorts of things I could have been doing, like preparing for this call. But I have to force myself. I have to almost put it in the schedule to meditate in the morning, to do my free-form writing, to take care of my body, and to go for a walk sometimes with Suzanne and our dog. I force those things in, even though my little monkey mind tells me I should be taking yet one more step to get more clients or create another program. But when you do that, you get the leverage of the universe behind you, which is incalculable compared to the amount of action. So
Mm-hmm.
you're on a good path, Linda. Do you have any question around that, or is it just sort of
well,
a
I
low
like the
note?
way she said it that while y'all had done the head work, the mind work
Still doing it, but yeah.
before you went into surgery. So when you came out, the people were calling you. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to, I don't know that I have a question. That's just where I am right now because I have some things going on that I can't just jump out and do every day. So I have to be comfortable. I think one of the key points to this is being comfortable in your inaction.
Yes,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
definitely important. Hmm.
And keep in mind that inaction doesn't mean no thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just means that while you're not taking action in that moment, you are spending time doing things that nurture you and that align your thoughts and give you peace and joy and comfort so that you can be in harmony so that when you get the positive impulse, the inspired impulse, which will occur, I guarantee it, if you're doing the vibrational work, taking care of the way you feel, then you will get the impulses. And when you act on the positive impulses, they will always lead you to something profound, something big.
It's
You're on the
not
right path.
necessarily about being lazy, so to speak. I don't mean it that way because that kind of has a negative connotation. Is when you take action and when you are doing something, it's inspired action. It's something you're really happy and excited to do because that's when you're in alignment and you'll keep getting guidance from your inner being, to take the next step and the next step.
Yeah.
I use the word lazy because I was laying, I give myself an hour or two out in the sun during the day, and I was listening to to Abraham Hicks, and she said, we want you to be lazy. And for
Yeah.
me, I hooked into that because it's more, it has to be that much of an extreme to slow me down.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Good way to look at it. I can see why they use the term lazy because it really is kind of almost in your face, defiant of society if you're being intentionally lazy. But it makes a lot of sense because once you do it a little bit and start to prove the power to yourself of doing it, then you never go back. Because why would you? Excuse me. Great comment, Linda.
Yeah,
We've got
thanks.
about 4 minutes left here.
I have a
Anything
quick
else?
question.
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead. Who is this?
This is Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Steve Noland. I've been
Oh, yeah.
to your
Hi.
meetings a couple times.
Yeah,
Hi.
I recognize you.
Yeah, I've done some writing where I've had long conversations, and I was just wondering, how do you prepare before? Do you prepare? You your mind in any way before you sit down and start writing?
Yeah. Thanks for asking, and congratulations on doing some proactive vibrational work. That's really good stuff. Yeah, so what I do, my new routine as of a couple months ago, maybe 3 months ago, is to put on a guided meditation recording, and I've got some from Abraham Hicks has really good guided meditations. Donna Marie has a really good one. There are a number of people who do them, or non-guided, whatever works for you, for between 15 and 30 minutes. Depending on how I'm feeling, sometimes I'll stretch it out until I start to feel like I'm slipping into that nice floating space. So I always do what I can to get my mind into a soft, gentle, meditative state if I can. The more meditative, the better. And then I always have my journal and my phone with the timer on it ready to go. So as soon as I come out of meditation, I usually get a glass of water, and drink lots of water while you're doing this, by the way. Lots of water with a pinch of organic sea salt, natural sea salt, really catalyzes the water because energy flows mostly through water in our bodies. So the more water you get, the more energy you're going to flow. And then just go right into your writing from that point and see what happens.
Okay, because I had quite a few conversations, and they went all over the place. And so I was thinking of trying to get to infinite intelligence and inner guidance, and it made sense that you would prepare for that. So
well, you
thank
are
you
doing
for that.
already. You're already doing that. If you're having a conversation that's going all over the place, that is you conversing with your inner being. So the thing is to not put too much, try not to put any emphasis on where it goes. But one thing you can do is right before you start your writing, set an intention for an answer that you want to get.
Okay.
And then let go of the intention. In other words, don't need the answer to come. Just say, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, what I was actually doing was, after my mom passed away, me and her were having some real long conversations for a couple of months, and then it got into other people, so then it got into some negative people, but that's why I was saying all over the place and a lot of crap, so a lot of negativity. So it was like talking with dead people. So I wanted to learn about the inner guidance thing because I don't want to do that crap anymore.
Yeah, so can I give you a little clarity on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so thought energy is conscious, but consciousness is not necessarily thought energy. So there's an intermediate form of thought energy, which is called the thought form, and that's thoughts that have been thought upon by people, human beings, all like, for instance, the whatever murder is going on in the world, a lot of people think about it at one time. They create thought form energy, and those are literal vibrations. And so if you're in a negative state of mind for whatever reason, whatever's been going on for a while, and you start your writing, then that's what you're going to be tapping into.
Right. I appreciate that. That's why I was asking how you prepare.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot about preparing.
Totally.
Yes.
Good question. Yeah,
that's a really deep question, Steve. It sounds to me like you're on a really great path, and maybe just a little bit of tuning of your vibration before you start the writing process, and who knows what's going to come through you. Maybe
I appreciate that.
And you can always stop. If you happen to pick up a lower frequency thought form energy that doesn't feel good, just stop. It's okay.
Yeah.
But next time.
Yeah, a while back I quit, and then I tried doing that again a couple of times. And what wrote down was not yet. In other words, I'm not preparing right. So I really appreciate what you said, Kevin.
Perfect. Great. Well, we'd love to hear back sometime as to how that's going.
Yeah, let us know.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Great way to wrap up the session here. Great question. Yep. Boy, these calls we've been doing for, I think, since the beginning of May or so, and everyone just gets a little deeper and a little deeper, and you guys just are diving into the good stuff here and pulling that through us. So we really appreciate you guys coming on the call. So let's see. Next up, you should receive an email in a bit with the recording. It may be a day or two because we're just switching over to the YouTube format. But you can always visit our channel. Just search for Personal Success Programs on YouTube, and you'll find all the recordings for all of the Law of Attraction Roundtables, and also the Monday Meditations if you want that. So then the future calls, again, Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you in the area, we have our meetup called the Billionaires Club, which is on the screen right now. We hold that over in Farmington Hills, and we are going to talk about the same subject, and we're actually going to do the writing experiment that we talked about today. So if any of you guys are in the area, you want to join us, it's $10 to attend the meeting, and it's a lively energy. If you thought this was lively, wait till you see a meeting in person of
The date of that meeting?
80 people. And the date is this Thursday, July 21st. Thanks for reminding me. It starts at 6:30, goes to 8 o'clock. And then if you want to learn more about us, come to our website, personalsuccessprograms.com, and be happy to chat with you at any point. So again, on behalf of Suzanne and myself, thanks so much for joining us for this Law of Attraction Roundtable call, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful manifesting week. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.